Yo, welcome everybody to another episode of the WASD and Beyond podcast, our first YouTube video, a
Yes.
surprise episode for this Friday that's going to be dropping at the same time as our audio podcast does. So you're getting 2 episodes in one day and a new YouTube video. Our first. We're stoked. Before this episode started, I fucked up the entire process, stressed out the entire Diggity podcast, stressed out my co-host,
I'm good.
stressed out Alex from Build Bros, who was
He
just
wasn't
trying to
even part
smoke a
of it.
bowl.
Yeah, he wasn't
He
even
was
part
just
of it.
he was just trying to smoke a bowl and focus on his own shit,
He was
and
hanging.
he couldn't because he was just cracking up. But yes, we are finally on YouTube on the Spawn Camp page. Before we keep going, this episode is sponsored by Final Boss and Doc Longy. Bet you didn't expect to hear that today, Evan. Doc
did
Longy
not.
is now a sponsor of WASD and Beyond.
Hell yeah.
So yeah,
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
that is fucking awesome. Let's give it up for Doc and Final Boss. Yeah,
And for
dude,
Final Boss,
I think let's just go straight into it. And by the way, I am wearing a Final Boss t-shirt, the Unreal
He is.
Tournament shirt. So always repping them. But dude, for our first YouTube video, how fitting is it that
It's a
we
hit
are
piece?
literally yeah, it's a hit piece. We're going to attack another news outlet, kind of, right?
We're going to definitely dismantle the article that I read today, which I will say that this is about the first episode of the Halo series on Paramount Plus. We will not be talking or going in depth about anything related to the show except for this specific paragraph, I'd say, but we don't even have to go in depth for it, really. We just need to say exactly what happened, which we have myself here and obviously you, Nick, who have seen the episode, and we know that this is not true, and we don't have to spoil anything or say anything more about it other than the fact that this is not what happens. And I take the biggest issue with this, for me anyway, personally, is that it's one thing when you're interpreting an event in a TV show, like, say, the ending of The Sopranos, and you take it one way and somebody takes it another, and then there's a discussion about it. When you are watching an episode of TV and you say something that is absolutely categorically not true, that's where I'll have the biggest issue. Like, it's you're seeing it with your own eyes, you're hearing it with your ears. Like you I mean, not that you'd hear it with anything else, as far as I know. I don't think you can. But
You
like,
can hear through your ass, I thought.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We should make an episode about that. Beyond. But that's my biggest thing. Like, interpreting things in TV shows is expected because everything is subjective like that, unless it's made absolutely clear to the audience that this is what happened and there's no doubt about it. This article it was posted by The Verge, or published by The Verge. There's a paragraph in here that says that Halo opens in the midst of a Spartan-led attack on a group of insurrectionists that goes left when the Covenant suddenly shows up in a sequence that illustrates how fraught the galaxy's balance of power has become in the present day. That's a quote. Everything else I say with this is exactly as the paragraph is. Master Chief and the rest of his silver team of Spartans already have marching orders when we're first introduced to them on the planet Madrigal, where they've been sent to kill freedom fighters like Quan Ha. But when the Covenant arrives in a barrage of gunfire, Master Chief, Kai-125, Riz-028, and Vanek-134 take it upon themselves to push the invaders back in a fight sequence that establishes just how gruesome Halo's willing to get. So where are the inconsistencies here in this paragraph?
It doesn't start out anywhere near the way they're saying it starts out.
No.
Like, there's like a shred of truth there. It does start out in one aspect with the Covenant, but other than that, man, no.
The opening shot...
There is no Spartan-led attack.
Yeah, the opening shot of the show is an aerial shot that closes in on the settlement of where these freedom fighters are at. And then after that, there's a bit of talking between them. They're playing cards. There's banter between the two. One of the younger members talks about the Marines and Spartans because on the TV playing, they're like, I'm assuming like their president or chancellor is talking about he's in peace talks with the UNSC.
Yeah.
So that is how the show starts, which, as you can clearly tell, that is not in the middle of a Spartan-led attack, because I would not be playing poker with Nick while Master Chief 117 was knocking down the door. I'd be like, I'd probably be shooting myself, if anything, because I'd be like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. At first, I'd be like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Here's my question. What purpose, or what gains, rather, did this author of this article stand to write this? because it doesn't make sense. That's not what happens. Are they trying to put the show in like a negative light? That's what pissed me off. I'm sitting here because the show is already stacked up against the odds, right? It's a video game
show. Yeah. Yep.
It's on Paramount Plus, which on Sunday's episode when we record, we will go more in depth to what we actually feel about the show.
Yeah.
Right now, episode 1 was a resounding. It's good. It's fine.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it's not like this great piece of television where you're like, this is gonna be remembered for the ages, right? But it's like this is good and it has room. It has the opportunity to really show itself, right? To make it better. Yeah, it's episode 1. You're not like, there are certain shows that really set themselves apart. I'll even say this, for one of the greatest shows considered by many of all time, The Sopranos, I was not impressed with the first episode. I was like, okay.
The only part I liked was when Tony ran that lawyer over with his car.
Yeah, like that was cool. Like that was definitely something interesting for the first episode. But other than that, like I remember the music choices, I remember the cinematography. But like,
yeah.
Other than that, watching it, I was like, I was more interested from the first episode of Peaky Blinders than I was of The Sopranos. Which is not to say that one of them is better than the other. That's not the case. They're two completely different shows as far as I'm concerned. But like, neither, like, my point with that is that just like this first episode, those first 2 episodes were not something where I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be remembered for the next 25, 30 years. I was like, that's good. I was like, this is fun to watch. This is interesting. I want to see where the rest of it goes, which that's the best thing about a first episode of television, is that it's like, okay, which Halo did for me anyway, is okay, let's see where the rest goes.
Right. I know what it's setting up to be now.
Sure.
I know the level of depth it wants to go into. But anyways, again, that is Sunday's topic, and that will be this Friday's
That'll be our episode for Sunday. Yep.
I just don't understand what this article had to gain from that false narrative, though. Because
go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Did he watch the show? First off, that's my question. The rest of the article is fine, in my opinion. It's pretty fine when it comes to which we'll read through the article.
Yeah,
we'll read through the article. That way, you guys can actually,
which I
understand where we are coming from.
Yeah.
But it's very confusing to me that that's the route they wanted to go down with this article. Don't get it. I don't get it.
So looking back, I'll go and I'll pull up the article again. Which I'd like to say that about this, I did tweet at them, which is nothing crazy. But I did tweet at that article that they had posted, and I said, like, hey, this is completely false. I was like, the Covenant show up first, which, again, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here by saying this. The Covenant show up first, and they're found by Quan Ha, which is a character of the show, completely new for the show, or completely new for the universe, not in the games or books as far as I'm concerned. I only read one book, but I'm almost certain she's not in any of them. No. Spartans aren't leading any attack on insurrectionists, and the Spartans don't kill any humans in the episode, which is completely true. Both of those are true, and everything about what I said is absolutely correct, because it's not hard. You can watch the first 13 minutes of it and go, yeah, that's completely, like, this article is wrong in this paragraph. But to pull up the rest of the paragraph about it, the title of this paragraph is not about the show itself in terms of the that aspect, or like the most of that. It's focusing on one event, which is him taking off the helmet, which is the first to happen in a game or TV like adaptation, like some of the other like web series they did. Like there was that little reveal in Halo 4.
They do, I believe, show John's face in an animated version of Halo. There's like an entire like animated collection that came out.
Okay.
And I do believe you may see it there. I could be incorrect. I think it happened, but yeah, this is like a major thing in the show.
Yep.
I was surprised by it. We're not going to say when it happens again.
Or what he
Sunday
looks like.
And Friday. Yeah.
Which we should say that as well if you're going to listen to this, or if you listen to this episode. Yeah, there's going to be spoilers for that episode. We're going to talk a lot more about it, go really in depth, and if I'm not mistaken, we will have the Luscious Brody Faults of the Diggity podcast on for that, will we not?
Absolutely.
Also part of the Spawn Camp Network. Look at that. I'm becoming a regular shill for our corporation.
Yes. Perfect.
But so reading through the rest of the article, it's pretty standard, right? It's talking just about like how this person's opinion, which they're valid to have, it's that's expected, right? Some people are going to like that his helmet comes off. Other people are not going to like it. I'm one of the people where I was like, wasn't necessarily expecting it for the situation in which it happens and whatnot, but I wasn't necessarily disappointed. Step away for a second. I was one of the people who said, and you can find, if you don't believe me, you can find the previous episodes of WASD. Go do it. You should give us listens anyway. Where I said, I'm perfectly fine not seeing his face for the entirety of the show. I'm perfectly fine with his helmet not coming off.
You said it for the entirety of the franchise itself.
Yeah, I said we never have to, even the end of the franchise, whenever they decide to finally just cut it loose. I don't ever need to see it. I'm perfectly fine without it. But then when I see it in this episode, the mysticism is gone. But it's not in a way of where I'm like, no, you've taken it away. I'm like, okay.
That's how it was for me. So it happens.
That's how he looks. Cool. Like, it makes nothing. Yeah, it doesn't change anything.
It happens, and I'm like, all right, cool. Moving forward, I guess.
Yeah, like okay, because you're honestly, I would say maybe this, and you could tell me, you're almost more invested in the story now than really giving a shit about how he looks. Because it's different. What happens is different. Yeah. With
the changes that they chose to make, again, we will go more in depth, and we will start to stray away pretty soon here during this conversation from the show.
Yeah.
From the changes they did make, what I can say is this. If it's a show that is trying to stand on its own 2 feet within the title of the Halo universe, at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate this. I can. I do like what they're doing to a degree. It is fun. And I like what they're doing with John 117.
Okay.
And the Master Chief.
I do too.
Himself. So it's cool. Them showing the face makes sense for this. Now, if in a video game they showed Chief's face and he looked the way he did here, I would call shenanigans.
Right.
Because he should look like a dried up, shriveled nutsack.
Which, if that wasn't enough detail for all you lovely folks out there, as Nick is trying to say, he clearly does not look like that in the show.
Which again we'll leave until
we can talk about
Friday.
that we can talk about that when we record. What I did want to say though, in response to what you asked earlier about how what does the author / the Verge have to gain from this paragraph, I don't think they had anything to gain, and I honestly think it might have just been a mistake. But then my bigger issue with that is that if this person
it was published,
that's what I was going to lead in with. If this person wrote it and it was published and somebody proofread it. This other person that proofread it either read it and did not connect the dots there, or just had not seen it and said, I believe you say, you said this happened, so now. But then that's where I have a bit more of an issue, because it's like, you guys are a gaming publication, you are news, you should give your best recollection of events. Your opinion is perfectly valid. That's not a question. That should be a true thing for everybody everywhere. Your opinion is valid and it matters. To a degree, it depends on your opinion. If it's really fucked up, then you can get.
If you're a neo-Nazi, you're not a good person.
Leave. If you're a racist, I don't want to hear that shit.
Shit like that, get the fuck out of my face. But this shit.
But if it's about Halo, and you're we're talking about this, your opinion is valid. If you think that it's just his, helmet comes off, and you're like, it's generic, I don't really give a shit. That's totally your opinion. Other people are gonna go, that's sweet. Other people are gonna go like you and I, where it's like, okay, move on. But with this paragraph. Which, again, we're focusing just on this paragraph. The rest of the article isn't necessarily bad.
It's fine. Yeah.
I don't agree with the author's opinion, but then everybody's valid to have that. But this was something where it's this was stated at the opening of that paragraph of Halo opens up this way. And Halo, in truth, does not open up in that way at all. And that's where my biggest issue is that so somebody proofread this, and they clearly hadn't seen the show, or they also had the same sort of issue that the author had, where they didn't necessarily remember the details correctly. Because some of these details are, in the sense of the show, correct. Spartans and Marines are fighting insurrectionists, but there is no battle that happens during insurrectionists and Spartans and Marines at all in the show. The Covenant is there, but the Covenant does not show up in the middle of a Spartan and insurrectionist fight. They show up and fight the insurrectionists, and then the Spartans show up. Like, sorry, that was not too much of a spoiler, but like, you know, just to set the record straight on that.
Right. I mean, you kind of have to preface.
Yeah, right? I do have to say with that, like, we are dismantling what is said in the article with the actual events without going into too much detail. But like, that's my biggest thing, and that's where I'm like, I don't like how, like, looking at it objectively, The Verge isn't profiting off of this paragraph that is factually incorrect. But then that's my biggest question is like, so you weren't profiting off of it, so why'd you let it go through that way?
You know what I think it is?
What do you think?
I think that they thought this would rile people up.
You think so?
I mean, it riled us up. I mean, yeah, dude, it riled us up to a degree, because it's like we look at this shit all the time from other journalists. Kotaku is a fucking this is not as bad as anything that Kotaku does.
No.
Let me say that right the fuck now.
I would agree.
But you look at all these other articles like something akin to Kotaku, where they throw shit out there, and it's
a reactionary post.
Laura Croft. Okay, for instance, they probably put some out eventually that says Laura Croft non-binary ? It's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
So you bring up a good point where it's just things that aren't really related to the topic or related to the show. Like,
if it's discussed, and we can discuss that further. But if you're just making shit up to just get people to click your shit, that's stupid as like, and especially if you're factually incorrect.
Well, and the funny thing is that the title of the article has nothing to do with the paragraph that we take the most issue with.
Right.
It's all about Master Chief taking off his helmet, but this paragraph is just supposed to give the reader it's supposed to give the reader preface and be like, here's how the show's opening up. But then that's the thing, is that if I haven't seen the show yet and I read this review about him taking off his helmet and I see this opening, it's not prefaced. I'd like to say this, so if you guys want to go and read the article itself, there is no spoiler in it, then there is no spoiler warning on the article itself, which typically when things like that come out from The Verge that will have a spoiler, there is a spoiler warning, and it does let you know. So this was not deemed by them anyway, not considered spoiler, worthy, essentially. It's not like there's not any crazy detail, but like, that's my biggest thing, is it's like, this is just wrong. And it's like, if you read the article and then you watch the show for the first time, hold that paragraph up on your phone while you watch the first 12, 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, that doesn't happen. Well, this doesn't happen either. And neither, this isn't true. So it's like, that's the thing. And like, while you were right, it did rile us up. But in the essence of that, as a gaming publication, why is your goal to rile people up? Not because you have a weird opinion on the show or the topic or theme of something, but why would you want to rile people up for just spouting incorrect information? Because that is my
biggest problem.
That's not interesting. Like if you had a crazy opinion on, Master Chief's face or something like that, and that was the entirety of the article, and you talked about it, and then like that riled people up because you just had some wacky idea that was out of left field and that got clicks, that's different. Go ahead. Yeah. Have your weird opinion that I probably won't agree with, but it's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But to say something that is just wrong in the middle of a paragraph that is not about, or in the middle of an article that is not about that specific topic, about like the opening or like details of the show, it confuses me, because it's like, that doesn't really help anybody. Like, it doesn't. Well, it pissed us off, not because it had anything to do with their opinion of the show. It pissed us off because it's like, this person either doesn't remember or clearly didn't even watch it.
Exactly. So it rubbed me the wrong way, and that's why we made this video, and that's why we're doing the fucking show tonight. Because
like, you wrote a Cliff Note, I wrote a Cliff Notes version of it for you and sent it to you, and then you misread it, and then you posted an article about it. Like that's how. Yeah. That's like the definition of how rumors are created is right, as I tell you one thing about somebody and then you tell another thing, you try to tell the same rumor exactly, but one little detail gets changed, and then that person tells somebody else, and then they change a couple more details along with the detail you changed, and now by the time it gets to the person that the rumor was about, the story is completely different from when I said it. So like that's where it almost reads where it's like somebody watched this show, this guy wrote an article about it and just wrote whatever he heard from that guy without actually seeing it, because it's like there are details that are correct, but they're in the wrong spots, and some of them don't even happen.
Yes. And that is my issue, because in this show you do see the UNSC in a darker light almost too. Like that is correct. Yeah. But then why are you steering people in the wrong fucking direction from what the show opens up with?
Right.
The opening of a show can either keep people in or push people away. Right. And if somebody reads this who wants to know if it's worth them watching, they might see that and go, well, I don't want to see that. Like, these are like my heroes, and I don't. But it's not what fucking happens, and that's my biggest complaint.
It's a great point. Is that people who have grown up with the series, like you have and I have, are going to go like, well, Master Chief's a hero. The Spartans are heroes. They would never hurt civilians. And there is a good thing to point out, is that I guess in the lore of the game and the universe is that there was a war between the UNSC and insurrectionists before the Covenant came along. So that's true, but you're not really, as far as I remember in the games, you're not really shown that. Like what you're seeing in what you're seeing in the games is mostly in the middle of the Covenant human war, whereas this seems to be set right before they really are known. Like right before the Covenant are really known. Yeah, the UNSC knows the Covenant, but the insurrectionists, like as an example, without saying anything specific, the insurrectionists in the show can't even believe what they're seeing when the Covenant shows up. They thought it was fake.
They go as far as to deny it.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, that's Sunday and Friday's episode.
Yeah,
but
this is early in terms of that timeline, and again, it is also a separate timeline from the rest of the games. But that's the thing, is that if somebody's reading this article and they go, well, I don't want to see Master Chief killing humans, guess what? He doesn't. But you wouldn't know that. No. And you might have already turned the show down because you read that. Like
you read some asshole. Yeah, that's my problem. It's bullshit articles like this that fuck people up. This is the same company that had that fucking disaster PC fucking video. Okay,
the Master of Bell,
everything, and I feel bad for that guy because he went on Linus
he went on Linus Tech Tips. Yeah.
And it was like he got pushed into it basically. This guy,
he knew what he was doing. Yeah, he knew what he was doing, and I believed him.
Fucked him over, but like that's neither here nor there. That poor dude, but.
Well, and even in that video, like Linus says to him, he's like, some of the things you said actually in the video were technically correct. It's like typically you just don't do them. Like, exactly. But you were right in the sense of you were saying correct information, but like a lot of people like that whole never mind, I don't want to get off topic, but like that
yes
yeah, but like that poor guy, yeah, I feel bad for that guy because like he really was trying his best, and it's like the Verge just kind of they cut things out that he was explaining that he but they because they don't probably know shit. Yeah, they don't know anything.
No, they don't. But again, my biggest problem is it's shit like this that keeps happening, especially within the gaming industry.
Yeah.
And with like publications pertaining to gaming, where it's false shit, misleading information, and it fucks you up, man. Like, how is somebody who just this show, like again, it's already stacked against the odds. People already don't like how Cortana looks, right? It's a video game adaptation.
They didn't like that Master Chief was like they were told that Master Chief was going to take his helmet off.
How much he talks. He's taking his helmet off. This show is doing a lot that people are pissed off at, and it just premiered.
Yeah, and it's like you have the right to be upset about these things, but I feel I'm of the party that you need to give some of this shit a chance, because what happens when you deny it and you're like, nah, man, it's trash. I don't want to see Cortana as looking like a person, and I don't want to see, Master Chief take his helmet off. I don't like that he talks so much. And then what happens when the show eventually ends, maybe after this first season, if it's really that bad and Paramount cuts it, or it's like a couple seasons.
I think it's like greenlit for season 2.
Or it's like a couple seasons later, they bring it to a conclusion that is satisfying to a degree, which is hard to do. It's not easy. And that guy's like, well, shit, everybody liked it, and I'm the only one who disliked it. That doesn't necessarily, maybe I'm in the wrong camp here. But that's when I feel bad for people who maybe haven't seen it yet, and they were interested about it, and they read that article, and they go, well, I don't want to see this. And it's like, well, guess what? Exactly. This is non-existent. This did not happen. Like,
No.
and that's where I would feel bad too, because it's like I am, as you know, and people who listen to the show know, I am very much one of the people who wants to get people to watch shit that they don't normally watch, or watch shit that, like, if they want to watch it, watch it.
You are.
TV and film are fantastic mediums for artistic creation, but like that is one of the things that I'll take an issue with. Is like, if I were to make something and I read an article about it that stated the opening of my movie and it was completely false,
Correct.
I would lose my mind. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, that's my problem, dude. It's just so misleading, and it could have been a mistake. It could have been.
it could, yeah, and
But
I'm fully,
we have to call it out, because if we don't call it out, not just us, but if everyone doesn't call this shit out,
it keeps going.
and it continues to happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't stop, right? So like Kotaku thrives off that shit. Again, the Verge, they are the ones who just stepped in the dog shit today.
You have your moments.
So like, they stepped in dog shit.
And that goes for everything, right? That goes for content creators as well, because like I had the same issue
we
when
have fucked up.
We've certainly made mistakes. I have bigger issues, particularly with people who like are covering a game as it's coming out, like Battlefield 2042, and all the major Battlefield 2042 YouTubers are covering how awesome it is, and then the game comes out and it's dog shit, and they're like, "Yeah, it's got some problems." No, you knew it had problems. You were just waiting, and that's and that's probably also due to a legal factor, because I'm sure EA has them sign something where it's like they cannot say anything negative about the game until it's a week after release, which is bullshit. And you know the way you stop that is you stop taking money from them.
No shill, no chill, baby.
You keep giving, you take that fat paycheck from EA, but then guess what? That game comes out and it's dog shit, and then they eventually cut DICE's funding.
Everybody crucifies you.
Yeah, and then guess what happens when they do that enough times to where EA says, you know what, we're shutting DICE down. Now they're not making Battlefield. We're giving it to a different studio. Well, now you've lost everything. You like all your chips are gone. The casino took everything from you. So like, it's the same thing. Where it's, when it comes to journalistic integrity like this, which is a pretty big term in terms of like, because I mean, granted, we are talking about one paragraph in one article about one episode of one TV show, so it's not like this massive thing. I'm not assuming that this guy has made plenty of mistakes in every other article. I only noticed this one. I wasn't going to go through and check every other article just to give myself a bigger case.
No, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what you should do. But like, this is where it's like, if we don't call this out, what happens when the Last of Us TV show comes out and somebody writes, it opens up with Ellie kissing a girl, and it's like it opens up with Joel saying hi to Sarah. It's like, these are two completely different.
That's two different timelines. Yeah, exactly.
Like what?
We just honestly, we just wanted to bring attention to it. Like, listen, like, this is not how this starts.
Yeah.
This is not cool that this dude published this and it was allowed to get past the cutting floor for some reason. Like, that shouldn't have happened. We just want to make a quick video and a quick extra bonus episode for you guys.
Yeah.
Because it really pissed us off today. And like, I don't hate The Verge.
Yeah.
I don't hate this author. I just hate that this was incorrect information that could steer people away from this show. We watched the show, and again, so far on WASD, an early quote unquote review, it's good. It's fine. It's fun. But we'll get more into that on Sunday and Friday. A
decent episode. It's not something where I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, this is the best video game adaptation I've ever seen in my life. I already know what that'll be. It's not here yet.
If I had seen this when I was 16, though,
you would have been.
I think I would have freaked out.
Sure.
Though there is one scene I cannot wait to discuss.
I'm sure.
On Sunday. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The new Craig. Guys.
That should be the thumbnail for this video. It should be.
You want it to be?
Yeah, we should totally make it the new Craig.
We'll have Brody's gonna be fucking with this episode anyways. But yeah, you ready to cap this off, dude?
Yeah, I'm all set with it.
Any final words you wanted to get out?
Nothing crazy. Just like, this is something I brought up to Nick today when I read the article after I'd already seen the episode, so it was fresh in my mind, and I had a real big issue with that because I know this shit happens all the time when it comes to just saying things that necessarily aren't true that people just take as fact, or they don't pay attention to it, which is fine. My issue with it was that it's like, if you had a crazy example or you had a crazy explanation for something that happened, but you were mostly in the right, that's cool. But when you say things that just aren't true about a TV show that people have spent their time, money, and love to create, and it's just not true, that pisses me off. Because it's like, people took the time to do this, and the least you could do is take the time to get it right when you explain it to people, especially when you work or you publish for a major publication that covers things like this. It's your job. You're paid to do it. You should do it well. You shouldn't sit there and say, well, I'll throw some bullshit article or bullshit paragraph in there and I won't even get talked to about it. I'm not trying to get the guy fired. Like I said, I give him the benefit of the doubt. This was just the one article I read and the one paragraph that I saw that wasn't true. That's all it is. But it shouldn't be taking anything more than that, right? I'm not trying to, hunt this guy down or hunt the Verge down. I don't really care, but I feel that in the sense of that. But I think that people, especially publications, journalism, should be held to a higher standard.
Absolutely.
And you should get it right, especially when you're covering the first of its kind, but the first major video game adaptation from a streaming service about one of the biggest franchises in gaming history. You should take the time to get your facts right. So that's all I've really had to say about it. But I did want to, talk about it as a lengthier topic for this. So
no, and you know what? I agree with Evan, man. Like, it's a bummer to see this shit. I don't want to witch hunt this dude, and I don't want to witch hunt Verge, but
no, absolutely not.
It has to be called out. And if I had to suggest you see the show, I would say go see it, open-minded, and just sit and have fun. But again, we'll talk on Sunday, and you guys will hear our thoughts next Friday.
Yep.
Until then, guys, we will see you guys next week with more Halo discussion.
Yep.
More hot fixes, more Diggity podcast, more Build Bros on the Spawn Camp Network. Final Boss is dropping some cool merch. Doc Longy is dropping some cool merch. There's a lot of shit happening with Spawn Camp, Final Boss, Doc Longy, Diggity, and Build Bros. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning into our first YouTube video. This is sweet. This is cool.
Yeah.
For the audio listeners, thanks for listening to the audio version, and expect more of this. Till then, take it easy, guys.
Peace out, everybody.